Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film From Black. It's a Shudder original, and it's coming to Shudder on Friday, April 28th. So this is a no-spoiler review for that reason, because it's a new film, and also just because it's not even on Shudder yet when I'm putting this review out. So I'm going to say off the top, I'm not a fan of this film, but I will also say that I always hope that films do find a fan base, because you can always tell that a lot of work goes into them and a lot of care. Me not liking this film doesn't mean that other people won't necessarily. I'm sure there are definitely going to be people who enjoy this a lot. There's just a lot of things there that I personally don't like about it, which I'll obviously talk about. But there are some things I did like about it, too, which I will also talk about. So try to be as balanced as I can with what I see in a film. So here we go. Directed by Thomas Marchese. I'm going to guess that's how it's pronounced. Marchese. This is their first directing credit. Previously, they had been a cinematographer. And on that note, I will say the directing's well handled. Cinematography is well handled. Shot framing is good. You know, there's no, like, unnecessary movement of the camera, like shaky camera work or anything like that. So that's one of the big positives with it. It looks good. It's shot well. And obviously, I'll get into some more of the positives. Written by Marchese as well as Jessub Flower, and this is the individual's only writing credit, so it's good to see people starting out. Now, I don't think this is a terrible start for a film career, considering this is first directing for someone and first writing for someone as well. Not terrible, but I just really didn't like it. Again, coming to Shudder on Friday, April 28th. Synopsis. I don't want to give away too much, so it's going to be a pretty quick synopsis. It's about a woman who has lost a child, and at one point, someone shows up and kind of says, you know, what if there's a way to get your child back? And it's a horror film. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give away too much. If you've seen the trailer, you've probably seen a lot more than that. I don't watch trailers, so I went into this one blind, as I always do. I also want to note that this film on IMDb has a 9.3 out of 10 right now. No way. I got to assume that it's the reviews are from people who worked on the film or family members. There's no way it's going to stay even close to that, in my opinion. The opening landscape of the film that's shown sets a good dark tone, although the score is pretty over the top. This is something I'm going to comment on a few times as I go through my notes about the score. This is the most annoying score I have ever heard in a film. Ever. And I'll get into why. There's a lot of misuse of the score. There's a lot of issues with the score, in my opinion. I'll get to it. But the setup for it, like I said, the directing, the cinematography looks good. They're showing you these very kind of like creepy, dark-looking landscapes. And it's great for setting a tone for the film. It gives you that feeling. It kind of gets you in that atmosphere, like what to expect with the film. So I love the way it looks out of the gate. But the score to go with it kind of gave me the expectations of what was to come with the score, and it was pretty bad. It's set up with aftermath of something that went on, with the expectation from the viewer that how things ended up that way will eventually end up actually being shown during the events of the film. So you do get that. That's not really a spoiler, because why else would they be showing you this stuff in the first place? And that's something that people want. So that's something that's done a lot with films, where they kind of like, not necessarily start at the end, but they start with a scene of something that is to come in a sense. And they do that with the film. It's fine. It does kind of do a good job of kind of hooking people in, making you more intrigued to kind of stick with it, which, in my opinion, this film definitely needed that to get people to stick with it for a while, because it is slow, unnecessarily slow. I'll talk more about that a few times. It uses that very typical drab bleached color look, which I'm getting very sick of seeing. Now, this is not the fault of the filmmakers that I am sick of seeing this, but it's a color palette for films that just gets used over and over and over again lately. I want to see something different. Again, it's not the fault of the filmmakers. They're just doing something that's it's been done a bunch lately. It's a popular thing. I'm sure there are plenty of people who love that color palette. I'm over it at this point. So to see it again, I was just like, no. But, that type of color palette can actually help with the feel of the film, and I think it does to a degree with this one. Although there's an intriguing element to the start of the film, it is slow. That's one of the biggest things with this film. Slow all over the place. It definitely needed to be cut down quite a bit. It's an hour and 40-minute runtime with credits, and I think it needed at least a half an hour cut out of it. At least a half an hour, unfortunately. The dialogue is well written, I do have to say, and the actors actually really help to sell the performances. I think the strongest thing about this film is the acting. The actors brought it. They have no fault in this. They did the best that they could do for the most part in this film, and big props to the actors involved with this. They were very professional. They did their job quite well, and that's one of the things I enjoyed most about the film is the acting performances. They were well executed, in my opinion. All the other issues were other things. And the other thing I do want to say is there's a good concept here. It's just the way it's executed. It's not. It doesn't do the concept justice. And it's one of those films where you feel like, excuse me, there just needed to be a lot more added to the script itself, that the script is a little bit empty. It's more of just like a concept that's not fleshed out enough. So yeah. With certain things they introduce, it seems too on the nose for where they seem to be taking things. Now, I took that note while I was watching it. I'm not going to comment on if that's actually where they take it or not, because I don't want people to know if there is some sort of unexpected twist or not. But just know that I had that feeling when I was actually watching the film. The score gets pretty annoying because of shrill sounds that they use at one point that are too frequently done, and they also really crank up the score. It actually starts to become kind of comical with how ridiculously hard they play the score and how ridiculously loud they use it and how they overuse it so many times. There are literally times where basically nothing's happening and they're just cranking this like dark, foreboding music at you. And the composition in the music itself is fine. It just needed to be toned down a lot. And like I said, it becomes comical at certain times how hard they go on this score. It's a huge misstep in this film. It ruins a lot of the experience for someone like myself. I don't know if everyone will experience it that way, but I just cannot tell you how much I dislike being screamed at by a filmmaker with their score. Less is more. 100% less is more with scores, especially for horror films. They just keep continually nailing down one aspect of a character, and it becomes ridiculously repetitive. This goes to the whole too slow moving, not having enough actual story there. It seems like because of that, they wanted to make it a longer film, and they just keep rehashing the same thing with this character over and over and over. And you're like, yeah, we get it. Like, we all get it. We're not stupid. Don't treat us like we're stupid. Let's move on. It needed to be edited down a bunch. It takes about 45 minutes for anything interesting to actually happen. That's not great. That obviously speaks to the very poor pacing of the film. So yeah. They did do a good job using CGI in this. I do have to give them credit on that one. They put the CGI in like kind of like darker areas, which is smart. That's a very smart move because it helps kind of get rid of any potentially wonky looking edges on the CGI. So I was impressed with how nice the CGI looked, especially for a film that I'm assuming is pretty low budget, because typically Shudder originals don't have large budgets. So good job on that one. Oh, and also in that same vein, the lighting was well handled. There are dark moments, but you can see what you need to see for the most part. They did a good job with lighting. There have been a lot of issues with terrible lighting in horror films recently, so good job not letting that happen with this film. A little past the hour mark is where it feels like it really does start to ramp up. Unfortunately for me, it was more of a speed bump, because then it just kind of goes back to being pretty flat. They had a lot of opportunities to kind of like really ratchet things up and get things going. And instead of actually doing that with story, they try to make you feel that with their ridiculous score. It's a misstep. It's a huge misstep in my opinion. There are some character turns that don't make much sense, kind of based off of how those characters have been acting. You know, you get to understand who a character is over a little bit of time, and they act a certain way. Then for them to kind of like switch when it doesn't really make sense and do something that it seems like they wouldn't actually do in a situation, it just seems like writing out of convenience because they just want to move the story to something. And it happened a few times in this film, and those are frustrating moments, especially for someone like me. The end of the film, in my opinion, is so flaccid, and it builds pretty much no momentum, unfortunately. Again, they had a lot of opportunity to go places with this. Good concept. I just think the execution was not good. Didn't do the concept justice. Again, the pacing is bad. One of the big reasons for the pacing being bad is just about every single scene feels like it goes on for too long. That should tell you it needed to be edited down significantly. But again, these are my opinions. Every review I do is just opinion. Like I said, I hope it finds its fan base, because I always hope that for films, unless they're like, Glenn Danzig's Veronica. But yeah, I know I've said that before. But anyway, yeah, out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I gotta go 1.5 stars. I'm sorry. I was between 1.5 and 2 stars because the acting is good. It does look good. I did appreciate how they handled the CGI, but the score is so awful with how they use it. The story is just not there. The pacing is really terrible. It really needed to be edited down. So 1.5 stars, unfortunately. But like I said, I hope all the best for these filmmakers. Again, this is a first effort. So, up from there, right? But this is where I want to hear your opinions on the film. If you've seen it, go ahead and put it in the comments. We can do spoilers in the comments. That's totally fine. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you in between on it? Would love to hear. I especially want to hear from Entropy Stings, because this is a very slowly paced film, and Entropy Stings usually likes those type of films. But there are those times where they will comment and be like, no, you're right, way too slow. So we'll see. I know, especially since I called them out, they will be commenting. So I look forward to that one. But thank you everyone for checking this video out. Do me a favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I know you're probably sick of this spiel, so just subscribe. And then you can skip it at the end. Or I guess you could just do that anyway. But also hit the notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. And regardless, thanks for watching this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.